This video will talk about the driving table notes. Ronald and his family are driving from St. Paul to visit their relatives 272 miles away. So we'll get there when they've driven 272 miles. If Ronald and his family are averaging 68 miles an hour, how far have they traveled after 1 hour? Take a moment, answer that. Otherwise, that would be 68 miles. Right? Every hour they drive another 68 miles. Since they've only driven 1 hour, they've only gone 68 miles. Take your speed, multiply it by your time, gives you your distance. If they're averaging a speed of 68 miles an hour, then have they arrived after 1 hour? Remember, they've only driven 68 miles. They need to get 272 miles. So the answer would be no. So they've only went to the 68 miles, right? They need to get 272 miles. Ronald and his family are averaging 68 miles an hour and they go for 2 hours. Did they arrive yet? How would I solve that problem? Again, they went 68 miles every hour. Since they go for 2 hours, that'd be 68 plus 68, or 68 times 2. And that's 136 miles. So no, they haven't arrived yet. Because remember, we need 272 miles. What if Ronald and his family drive for 3 hours? Did they arrive yet? Again, take a moment to figure that out. Otherwise, after 3 hours at 68 miles an hour, they've only done 204 miles, right? 68 times 3 gives me 204. And again, they haven't arrived yet because that's not 272 miles. Let's consider them driving 4 hours then, right? 3 hours didn't get us there. What if they've driven for 4 hours? Well, that answer would be 272 miles. 68 times 4 gives me 272. Hey, they actually arrive exactly at 4 hours. If they drove for 5 hours, did they arrive yet? Well, we already established they would have already arrived because at 5 hours they would have done 340 miles, and that's well past their destination. So how long did it take Ronald and his family to arrive? It took them 4 hours to arrive. And again, we saw that on question number 5. Now Ronald and his family are going to visit another set of relatives, and these relatives are 900 miles away. Again, if Ronald and his family are averaging 68 miles an hour, will it take more or less than 5 hours to get there then? And how would we know that? Take a moment, think about that. Should my answer be more or less than 5 hours, and how do we know? Well, it should take more than 5 hours because on problem number 6, we said that was only 340 miles, and we need to get to 900 miles. And one of the ways we can figure that out then is if we take 900 divided by 68, 900 miles divided by 68 miles an hour, tells me the answer should be well over 13 hours. So how long will it actually take them to get there? 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, etc. How would I figure that out? So again, 68 plus 68 plus 68, right? These are each hour. I need to have a total of 900. Easier way to do that is take 900 divided by 68. That gives me 13.24 hours, around 13 hours, 15 minutes. Take that decimal, just the decimal without the 13, multiply by 60. Gives me 14.4 minutes. That's a much more efficient way than writing 68 times 6, 68 times 7, 68 times 8, 68 times 9, etc. An even easier way, instead of trying to write those all out, is to actually just represent this with what we call a table. A table will look like this. A table is just a list of your answers in an organized fashion. We see 68 times 0 gives me 0, 68 times 1 gives me 68, 68 times 2 gives me 136, 68 times 7 gives me 476. You can tell from the table here that my answer is going to be more than 10 hours. So again, we will just keep going, keep writing that out. But this table is really handy because I can quickly see answers. When do I reach 204 miles? That's at 3 hours. How long do I go, or how far do I go at 8 hours? 544. So a table can be a nice representation of different ideas all at once. Multiple different answers. And those are the ideas we can say in number 11. When When might we want to use a table to represent a situation? We want to show multiple outputs, in this case distances, all at the same time. When my inputs, in this case time. This really lets me see stuff in an organized fashion. In math, we're always trying to generalize our ideas. So, in general, how do we figure out the miles Ronald and his family drove when they drove at 68 miles an hour based on the number of hours? What did I do each time to get these miles? Take a moment, write that down, otherwise. Best one is the equation. It's 68 times t gives me my distance. 68 miles an hour times my time, however long my time was, gives me my distance.